If you've watched our videos, you're probably aware that we offer lots of tips and advice to help you improve your chance of success at the visa interview. Today, I want to talk about three things not to do, three mistakes that you can easily avoid, which will similarly help improve your chance of success. I'm Travis Feuerbacher. I was a career diplomat with the US State Department for almost 7 years. And during most of that time, I worked abroad as a visa officer. I've interviewed tens of thousands of visa applicants, and I have seen everything from really well prepared, really good applicants who interview very well to very unprepared applicants, some of which do things that are just irritating and annoying to visa officers, and sometimes those mistakes can lead to denials. So let's talk about three things to avoid. First, I want to talk about documents. I'll put a link below in the description to a video that we have specifically about documents. And just to recap, visa officers don't like documents. Documents can be forged, they can be fake. And really, the reason that visa officers are required to interview you face to face is because that's the best way to determine whether or not an applicant is credible and is telling the truth, and ultimately whether or not they qualify for a visa or not. However, there are circumstances where documents might be required, and some circumstances where documents may actually help you improve your chance of success. Now, there's a right way and a wrong way to bring documents to the interview. The wrong way, of course, is to be completely unprepared, just disheveled, stuff in a pile that's falling all over the place, and you're having to look on the floor and pick things up. That is not going to make you look good. It will not make you look prepared. It will not make you look organized. And ultimately, it may actually result in a denial of your application. So instead of that, if you're going to bring documents to your interview, think about bringing them in a nice, orderly pile. Don't bring too much stuff. Just bring what you really think might be necessary or important during your interview. And you might even put a couple of sticky tabs on some of the most important documents so that you can pull them out very easily if you want to show them to the officer or if the officer asks about them. Now, the second common mistake that is easily avoidable and should be avoided at all costs is offering one word answers to the officer's questions. Now, I know that in many cultures, it is common to not really want to volunteer details, especially to a government official. But that's exactly what you need to do at the visa interview. Visa officers are overworked. They have a very, very exhausting job. And I know a lot of people, especially if you've been denied before, you really don't want to empathize with the visa officer. And I get it. But think about it like this: if you can help the visa officer by making their job just a little bit easier, then your chance of success goes up exponentially. And so if I asked somebody what they did for work and they responded by saying, I work in a company, then I have to ask them, which company do you work for? And they told me the name. Then I had to ask them what they did at the company. Then I had to ask them several more questions, all in an attempt to just figure out who this person was. Now, if, in the contrary, that person had simply told me, I work for this company, this is my job description, this is what I do, then I only have to ask one question, and I have a pretty good idea of what this person is doing, what they're up to, what their situation is like. So don't offer one word answers. Now, the last thing that is highly avoidable, easily avoidable, is acting on bad advice. There are lots of visa agents who, put themselves out there as experts. This is very dangerous because I deal with, and my partner deals with clients all the time who have found themselves in very complicated situations because they took advice, acted upon it, only to find out that it was not the right thing to do. So let me give you a couple of things to beware of. First of all, if anybody guarantees an outcome, run the other way. Let me make this very clear. The only person who can decide your application is the visa officer themselves. Nobody, including the President of the United States, has the ability to decide a visa application in the place of the visa officer. So be very wary and very skeptical of anybody that can tell you that they can guarantee success. Now, the second thing to watch out for is anybody who says that they know exactly which questions you're likely to be asked. Visa officers have very short times with each applicant because, as I've mentioned in previous videos, I used to interview on average over 200 applicants a day when I was in China. And so there's no reason to just go through a script of questions. Instead, the officer is going to be thinking about exactly what they need to ask you to maximize their time that they have with you. They're never going to ask the same question of every applicant because A, that would be a waste of their time, and B, everybody on the internet would share the four secret questions that they're going to be asked, and the officer would get the exact same responses from everybody. So be a little bit skeptical if somebody tells you that they definitely know what questions you're going to be asked. And then the last thing to be very, very worried about if you hear is if you say this, you will succeed. Now, this backfires in a number of ways. First of all, there is no magic formula that if you say a certain thing, you're going to succeed. Again, nobody can guarantee success in the first place. But beyond that, if you memorize a script or even a short phrase, the visa officer is going to quickly realize that you're just regurgitating, you're just reciting something that somebody else told you to say because that's how you're going to get a visa. And what that will result in is A, it will lead to a conclusion that you're not credible. You're just trying something to get into the United States so that you can maybe work or do something else. Two, it does not tell the visa officer who you actually are. It doesn't help the officer figure out whether or not you're qualified for the visa that you're applying for. So don't memorize anything. Don't act on advice from people who say that they can guarantee results or that they know exactly how the interview will be conducted. Run the other way if you encounter somebody like that. And instead, prepare for your interview. Think about how to introduce yourself. Think about the documents that you might want to bring and put them in a nice orderly pile with maybe some tabs to help you identify the most important documents to pull out. And if you still have questions, reach out to us. We are licensed US immigration attorneys who are, of course, former visa officers, and we've dedicated our careers to helping visa applicants just like you prepare for their interview and navigate through their visa journey. Send us an email to info@zfvisa.com or book a consultation with us directly from our website, zfvisa.com. When you do so, we'll send you a short questionnaire so that we can gather all of the important details about your application and your situation. And then we'll use our time together to give you some best practices and advice and even a strategy to help you put your best foot forward at your interview and improve your chance of success. Now, for student visa applicants, you might also be interested in our new online F1 visa guides. We have a course specifically on the DS-160 where we walk you through a live application where we explain how to answer every question truthfully, with detail, and most importantly, honestly. We have a course specifically on interview preparation, where we teach you everything you need to know to understand how to most effectively communicate with your visa officer and introduce yourself in a way that, quite frankly, introduces your situation and proves to the officer or establishes for the officer your student bona fides or your student credibility. And then we have a complete course where we go through the entire end-to-end F1 student visa journey. Everything from the I-20 form, the DS-160, the interview, and we even include a bi-weekly 1-hour Q&A session with either myself or my partner Mandy, where you can ask any of your lingering F1 student visa questions that maybe we didn't quite answer in the online course content. So reach out to us. Make sure you're not acting on bad advice. Make sure you go to your interview prepared. And above all else, good luck.